Hi and welcome back to the channel. This time around I'm recording late at night. Now late at night's usually the time when I think about important things, like why Jesse Pearson didn't have a bigger career after Bye Bye Birdie. And why Bobby Darin was so much cooler before Kevin Spacey did a biopic about him. Important things like that. But it's after 10 o'clock at night. I'm drinking espresso and I'm going to do my movie and movie book haul for the last month or so, because there's some cool stuff here. And I want to let you know that it's out on disc, that I'm going to review some of it. I don't know which ones yet, and you can always have a bit of input into that. I like these films. I like having them in my collection. And a couple of them I've seen, well, some of them I've seen already, but some of them I haven't. And I'm kind of looking forward to doing a little bit of a binge on some of these things. I may even save them and do a 24-hour movie marathon again. Who knows? All possibilities are equally valid. So let's get started. I'll get started with the Imprint movies, and I'll put these in order, which is exactly the opposite of the way they are. This one I saw at school, though. I went on a school excursion when this movie first came out, because the teachers would take us to cinema sometimes if there was a movie about history in some way. So we got taken to see this, and nobody liked the movie. But Imprint have put it out on disc. I haven't got the copy of it with the slipcover. That went really quickly. They only do 1,500 of those. But this one, it's got Christopher Plummer, Orson Welles, Jack Hawkins, and Rod Steiger. So it's a portly sausage party, really. It is from 1970, Waterloo. Now, I haven't rewatched this, so don't tell me how it ends. But it looks pretty good. The battle that changed the face of the world. Yeah, for white people. I think it's a very early imprint. It's got, they haven't quite nailed down their format yet. But I'm kind of looking forward to revisiting that and seeing if my childhood memories of it were valid, or whether it was just because I ate too much sugar while I was watching it that I didn't enjoy it. But yeah, kind of sort of looking forward to that one. This one I haven't seen. I hadn't even heard about, which is kind of rare. Alec Guinness, Dirk Bogarde and Anthony Quayle in Damn the Defiant. Now this says, as commander of the British warship HMS Defiant, the humane Crawford, played by Alec Guinness, strives to maintain order throughout the ship against the ceaseless brutality of sadistic first mate Scott Paget, played by Dirk Bogarde. Now we know Scott Paget is an arsehole because he has a hyphenated surname. After Crawford is injured in a fiery battle, angry Seaman Vizard leads the crew to mutiny. This is a deep cut rarity. I've kind of heard the title, but I hadn't heard anything at all about the movie. It's from 1962. And again, I'm kind of looking forward to that too, because I'm filling in the gaps on my movie history. And we all do that all the time, really. But yeah, I'll show you the inside cover as well. Somewhat different cover art on that, but it's not too bad at all. I think this one may be in black and white. I'm not sure. Is it in black and white? Doesn't say. Yeah, Damn the Defiant. This one I thought was another movie. A horror movie directed by Eric Red, who I think did some naughty things and is no longer having a movie career. It says, a criminal psychologist who loses his arm and nearly his life in a grisly car accident, which is the best kind for cinema, undergoes a daring medical operation in which a donor's arm is successfully grafted onto his body, but after the operation the arm starts to take on a violent life of its own. So basically this is the same as Hands of Orlac and all that kind of thing, but with a whole arm. It is body parts, which I do want to see. I'm not sure whether I saw it back in the dim dark VHS days, but I may have. It says, where does evil lie, the heart, the mind, or the flesh? I'd say the mind, just going out on a limb here. But yeah, I'm kind of looking forward to that one too, because it's very much that VHS era stuff, and I can't get it out of the... There's the inside cover art. Yeah, let me know if you've seen this one, because I may move it up the list. Got a few horror things to watch, but and in fact I'm getting a copy from Umbrella of a very transgressive horror movie in a month or two that I'm going to review. But there's Body Parts for now. Now this one I've already watched and I like it. I actually saw it, I remember seeing it when I was a very small child in a drive-in. From 1961, Anthony Quinn, Jack Palance, Ernest Borgnine in Barabbas. Now I remember seeing this because it's got a real solar eclipse in it. They actually have the crucifixion of Jesus filmed during a real solar eclipse. It's one of those kind of European biblical epics, but this one's a bit different. It was based on a Scandinavian novel. And the weird thing about it is Barabbas is the guy who got freed when Jesus got crucified. They decided to free somebody. Barabbas was the one they chose. And it's the story of Barabbas after that. He's a thief, he's a womanizer, he's Anthony Quinn. There's some interior cover art on it. And the interesting thing is that it goes through the next 30 years of kind of history around the Middle East and in Rome. And never once does it say anything about Jesus having a supernatural origin. It's got the start of Christianity happening there. But they don't flip on the side of, yes, he is the son of God. Barabbas is a skeptic. Right up until the last couple of minutes of the movie, he's a skeptic. And the groovy thing here is that the movie is kind of secular for a biblical epic. And it makes it just that little bit different. It's got an interesting cast too. It's got Silvana Mangano in it, Katie Gerardo, Harry Andrews. Vittorio Gassman has a fairly big role in this one. Around the same time that he did Dino Risi's Il Sorpasso, which is one of my favourite Italian movies. Directed by Richard Fleischer as well. But if you can find a copy of this one, it's definitely worth checking out, and most of these imprint ones are region free, so you should be able to get it. Very spectacular. I like the whole design of it. It goes from sulfur mine to a gladiator school. There's a whole bunch of different stuff that happens in Barabbas' life, and Anthony Quinn is a little bit too old for it, but nonetheless it's an interesting film and I enjoyed rewatching that one. Cheers. So let's move on to the indicator ones. I've got a couple of indicator things and they're quite interesting. I don't know if I've mentioned this one before. It's a Hammer film directed by Terence Fisher. The Stranglers of Bombay, starring Guy Rolfe, Alan Cuthbertson, Andrew Cruikshank, George Pastel, and Paul Stacino. So basically low budget Hammer, justifying the English occupation of India. From 1959, 80 minutes long. Started to watch this but I didn't finish it, only because I got onto other things. But I'm going to go back on to this one. It's in black and white, but as it says here, it's in Megascope, so you know it's good. It's all about thuggy cults and white heroes, and it's filmed in England, but they're trying to tell you it's India. All of that kind of stuff. Yeah, that one is for my Hammer collection, and I wasn't not going to get it. This one's interesting, and I picked it up cheaper than it was first for sale in. It's about a film company that went from 1972 to 1974 in England. Very low budget film company. Young guys starting out in the industry. And they made 3 films, all of which are here. And they were called the Pemini Organisation. And the 3 movies are a movie called Hunted with Edward Woodward and June Ritchie. A movie called Assassin with Ian Hendry, Edward Judd, Ray Brooks and Frank Windsor. And a movie called Moments with Angara Adris and Keith Michelle, who's an Australian actor. There's the box on it. It's got some nice artwork. There's Ian Hendry being menacing. And it's also got a bunch of kind of postcards from the movies. Is that upside down? No, there we go. Edward Woodward being kind of Callanish. I haven't watched these yet, but I'm looking forward to it. And there's also this good booklet which tells you all about the Pemini Organisation, how they made these thrillers and kind of dramas on a low budget. And they were kind of forgotten in the English film industry until Indicator put this out. Now, the box set is a limited edition of 6,000. I've got 1681 of 6,000. It says so there. And I'm looking forward to this because the stuff that's interstitial, it If it got shown here in Australia, it would have been as a second feature. One of the movies is less than an hour, the other two are feature length. But I'm looking forward to this because I knew nothing about it before this came out. And all credit to Indicator for putting out this nice little box. I do the stuff from Cinema Cult, which is kind of the low rent horror releasing company here in Australia, which does some interesting things and gets some movies that are kind of interesting, but there are no extras on them. They're just purely DVD or Blu-ray. Now, people mentioned in the Invisible Man sequels that I got from Umbrella Entertainment that one movie, Ford Beebe's The Invisible Man's Revenge, wasn't in that box set, and the reason it wasn't is that Cinema Cult released it. So I picked up a copy of this for like $10 at JB Hi-Fi. Who's it got in it? John Hall, Leon Errol, John Carradine, Evelyn Ankers, and Gail Sondergaard. I love Gail Sondergaard. I haven't watched it yet, and I'm not going to even look at the back to find out the plot. But with a cast like that, it's going to be a good 1940s Universal horror film. Looking forward to that one as well. They also put out a couple of movies which were in a weird little sub-genre of cinema which came out in the 1960s, but was only recognised as a sub-genre of cinema very recently. And it's a thing called hagsploitation, where older actresses get to play insane people. And Cinema Cult put out two of them, both with Joan Crawford, oddly enough. The first one is a William Castle joint called Straight Jacket, which is in black and white. It's got Joan Crawford, Diane Baker, Leif Erikson, Howard St. John, and it's written by Robert Bloch, the guy who did Psycho, and directed and produced by William Castle. So that one I watched, and it's a very weird movie. It's about a woman who kills her husband, who is unfaithful to her, and then 20 years in an insane asylum later, she emerges and tries to rebuild her life and rebuild her relationship with her daughter. But weird things start happening. Really interesting little film, this one, and very much in that hagsploitation thing. And then they've got an English one that has Joan Crawford, Diana Dawes, Ty Harden, Michael Gough, Judy Geeson, and Robert Hardy. A thing called Berserk, which is another one of those horror movies set in a circus, where people keep dying and you've got to work out who the murderer is. And Joan Crawford is the owner and kind of ringmaster of the circus. So, very cool little film. All of these English circus films use the same circus and the same circus animals, the same circus performers in them. And this is no exception. Produced by Herman Cohen, who did a whole bunch of these schlocky things at the time. The inside cover isn't very much different at all. But I enjoyed watching this one as well because it's got Joan Crawford showing her legs when she's 60. Pretty good legs for 60. And has a much younger lover and all that kind of thing. There's some very interesting subcurrents of vulnerable female actors of a certain age in this one. So they're the ones I got from Cinema Cult. Now, I also picked up some things for $1 at thrift shops. Two of them, one of which I've watched, one of which I haven't. But the one I haven't has been recommended to me. It's a movie from, what year is it? Who knows? I'll put it up on the screen. With Donald Sutherland and Jeff Goldblum, called Threshold. It's about the ethics of transplant surgery and trying to prolong life with transplants. Let's see, is it John Marley, Sharon Acker, Mayor Winningham, Jeff Goldblum, Michael Lerner, and Donald Sutherland. So Threshold I picked up for $1 because I'd heard good things about it and it just happened to appear in one of the op shops. The other one everybody knows. And I watched this version of it and it kind of upscaled nicely on my 4K player. But it's still all action, no substance for me. Good thing it's being remade. Blade with Wesley Snipes I got for $1. Of course it's got more than just Wesley Snipes. It's got Stephen Dorff in it, Chris Christopherson's in it, and Donald Logue. Directed by Stephen Norrington. Started the Blade trilogy, which got progressively worse as Wesley Snipes started having issues. And the third one is an interesting saga in itself, but I kind of enjoyed the silliness of watching this one, and the fact that all of the vampires just basically turn into charcoal barbecue briquettes when they get killed. Yeah, and lots of action, lots of imagination, very little substance. Still got tons to go. Someone recommended this one to me on one of the comments on the channel, so I found a copy of it on eBay. It's got Roy Scheider in it. It's got Tony Lobianco, Larry Haynes, Richard Lynch, from the 1970s. A little bit of that kind of New York crime jazz. The 7-Ups. If I've seen this one, it would have been long ago. It's from 1973. And I want to see this one because I've seen a whole bunch of other kind of films from the time set in New York. Things like The Gang That Couldn't Shoot Straight and all those other crime films. Haven't seen the 7-Ups as far as I can recall. I'll know once I've seen it whether I've seen it before. But it hasn't stuck in my memory. So I'm looking forward to seeing that one and filling that part of the movie library of 1970s, early 1970s crime stuff set in New York. Should be fun. This one's very recent. And even though one of the leading actresses is somebody who can't act, very beautiful woman, has a wonderful presence but can't act. It's the sequel to Murder on the Orient Express, the new version, Death on the Nile, which has Tom Bateman, Annette Bening, Kenneth Branagh, Russell Brand for some reason, Dawn French, Gal Gadot, Armie Hammer, Rose Leslie, Sophie Okonedo, Jennifer Saunders, and Letitia Wright. I like this one. I like this one for a very specific reason. I like Kenneth Branagh's Poirot. And I like the fact that this movie humanises Poirot and gives us backstory to Poirot that I haven't seen before in a film. And I like the reasons why he is the eccentric he is, and the reasons why he is somewhat distant from other people. This one lands it nicely, and it's a nice piece of directing and writing by Branagh. I like this one a lot. I'm glad I got it. I was going to get it on 4K, but I couldn't really justify upscaling and paying an extra $10 for it. But at the price I got this one, which was about $20, I'm happy with that. This one I mentioned last time around with the Shakespeare list I did. Richard III from the early 1950s with Laurence Olivier. I haven't rewatched this yet. Studio Canal put it out. It's Region B, this one. I'm looking forward to doing that. I might do a little bit of a Shakespeare binge at some stage. Inside cover's got nothing in it. But I haven't seen this one for a lot of years, but I really want to rewatch it and hopefully enjoy it. Let's see. This one, Joseph Losey film from the 1960s, The Servant with Dirk Bogarde, Sarah Miles, Wendy Craig and James Fox. If you haven't seen this film, hell of a good drama. There's 2 discs and the second disc is full of features and extras and things like that. Pick this one up. I think I got buy 2 get 1 free, and this was the one that I got for free and I'm quite happy with it. Really interesting 1960s British cinema that talks about class, that talks about game playing between people who are of different classes in the same household. Really nice drama. Dirk Bogarde was never better than this one. James Fox is quite good in it. Sarah Miles is really great. I'm looking forward to revisiting this one as well because I am a big fan of Joseph Losey's work. Now this one a lot of people won't have heard of because it's an Australian film that only came out this year. And it's based on a poem by Henry Lawson, one of the bush poets of late 19th and early 20th century Australia. But it's been reinterpreted by an Indigenous movie maker called Leah Purcell, who has written the script, directed it, and starred in it. And it's a thing called The Drover's Wife. Now, lots of people I know who have seen this have recommended it to me, and I'm really looking forward to watching it. This one, if you're into Australian cinema at all, this is one of the ones you should pick up. There's a lot of really strong Indigenous voices. Leah Purcell's been acting on stage, on the small screen, on the big screen for a number of years now, and is really being given a chance to shine. It's got a good supporting cast too. Rob Collins, really great actor. Sam Reed, Jessica DeGo. I really want to sit down and watch this one, but I want to watch it at a quiet time when I don't have a lot of other things going on. It's one of those movies I really want to dedicate a solid couple of hours to just kind of soaking up. But it's called The Drover's Wife, The Legend of Molly Johnson. and I think that I may well do a deeper review on this one in one form or another. Let's see, I'll go over to this one, which is the stuff I got from Arrow Video in the UK, because Zavi do some good deals for Australia on these ones, and Arrow is putting out the stuff that's never going to get a release in Australia, but it's in the same region blocking of Blu-rays and DVDs as Australia, so it's region B. This one is a Japanese version from the when is it? These from the 1940s. The Invisible Man appears along with The Invisible Man versus the Human Fly. Really early Showa era Japanese science fiction horror film. The first one's from 1949, and 8 years later, The Invisible Man versus the Human Fly. Don't know terrible much about them, but it's good that it comes with a booklet giving details about the films. Really happy with that. I like Showa era Japan as a place and time in history, and I like Showa era movies as well. There's something about them. I mean, this is when we had Yasujiro Ozu working in amongst other people, and I like them, and I like just looking at the landscapes of Japan in that immediate post-war period. Sam Fuller did the same thing in House of Bamboo. He did a lot of location shooting in Tokyo in that movie, but this is Japanese filmmakers rebuilding their film industry after World War II, and I like that. This one's a Robert Downey movie. Not Robert Downey Jr., Robert Downey Sr. Putney Swope from 1969. It's in black and white, stars Arnold Johnson as a guy called Putney Swope, who kind of accidentally ends up running a Madison Avenue advertising agency and totally trashing the American white establishment while he's doing it. There's some mock ads in here, the fake ads, which are really kind of interesting and were more shocking, of course, in 1969 than they are now. There's a ton of extras on this one. There's also a booklet of things from the movie. I saw this one on late night television ages ago and loved it, because it does stick the middle finger up to the establishment at the time. And with the rise of oligarchs and billionaires and other ne'er-do-wells, it's a bit timely now as well. There's some parts of it that don't play particularly well. There's a bit of nudity in it, there's a bit of swearing, there's some interesting stuff going on in general. And I like Putney Swope, and I'm glad I got a copy of it on Blu-ray. Now, this one's a box set of 3 films by Jose Larraz, who did horror movies that were titillating as well. Very transgressive and very, very kind of wouldn't be made now kind of films. There's the box set. It's called Blood Hunger, the films of Jose Larraz, Whirlpool, Vampires, and The Coming of Sin, from 1970, 1974, and 1978. Now, here are the individual covers. Vampires I saw in the cinema. It's about lesbian vampires chewing on people in rural England. Very much male gaze, very much titillating stuff. Whirlpool's an interesting little serial killer flick with more nudity and naked females in it. But I haven't seen The Coming of Sin yet. But I wanted to get these because that 1970s European grindhouse kind of film aesthetic is what I grew up on. It's the kind of films I first saw when I started going to cinema for the first time. I don't think that if I was a young man I would recommend them to myself, but they are very much of their time, and they are very much exploitation cinema. And if were to review them on YouTube, I'd probably get demonetized and maybe get my channel banned, because there is so much transgressive stuff in these films that you can't really talk about and get monetized on YouTube. The last of the films I'm going to talk about is one that someone recommended to me on the comments on a video. I don't remember who it was, and I apologize. And if you tell me who it was, if it was you, tell me who it was, and I'll pin your comment to the top of the comments for this video. This was an Italian horror film, and this is the movie that gave us our first fast zombies in cinema. I liked it. It's low budget Italian gore and horror. What happens is a Hercules aircraft lands unexpectedly at an Italian airport, and out of it pour a whole bunch of radioactive ghoul-like creatures that suck blood and murder people. They haven't lost their intelligence because they can use machinery. They can fly aeroplanes, they can use guns, they can use knives, they can plan strategically. But they're basically cannibalistic monsters as well, disfigured by the radiation. It's a little film called Nightmare City, which has got a bunch of other titles as well. But I watched this one yesterday. It stars Hugo Stiglitz and nobody else you really know about. But Tarantino and Eli Roth are fans of this one. And it's full balls to the wall, crazy cannibal action. Hugo Stiglitz plays a TV journalist who goes to the airport to interview somebody, and then suddenly all of these raving maniacs start pouring out of a Hercules aeroplane and basically destroying civilization. It's got a shit ending to it, I'll give you that much. The movie has the shittiest ending I've ever seen. Lots of gore, lots of guts, nudity as well, because you've got to remember this is a 1980 Italian exploitation film. Really nice sets and locations, most of which were filmed in Barcelona, in Spain, rather than Italy. Some of the post-production was done in Italy, some of the interiors. But Nightmare City you should check out. What's the other title we've got on the alternative colour? The City of the Walking Dead is the other title. There's a reversible cover on this one. So this is a recommendation. If you like that kind of Italian stuff like Zombie and Zombie 2 and all those other transgressive Italian horror films of the era, you're going to like this one. And I'm glad I picked this one up because it was a lot of fun and a bit of a palate cleanser because I was watching lots of superhero movies, and getting cannibalistic zombies eating women in leotards is just what I needed to clear my palate out and enjoy it. Now, the last two things I've got for you are books. One I've had for a while. One I've just got brand new. And the brand new one was edited by my friend in WA, Andrew F. Pearce. And it's the Australian Film Yearbook 2021, which covers all the movies that he could find made in Australia in 2021. It's got interviews with people involved in it, movie makers, actors, directors, writers. It's got a bunch of reviews as well. It's got some overviews of Australia as a place to make American movies in. Australia being the Vancouver of the South. I only got this one recently. In fact, yesterday. But I love movie reference books. And this one's nicely put together. In some ways, movie references are better to have in this kind of form than they are online, because you've got more possibility for serendipitous discovery. Just, kind of thumbing through the book and finding things you didn't know about. It's more likely to happen in a book than it ever is on a web page. And I like this one. I hope it's successful enough that more years can come out, so 2022, 23, 24. It's somewhat old-fashioned in the fact that it's a movie yearbook, but all credit to Andrew and the people who work with him, including Aaron McCann, who did the foreword, for giving this a go and doing something which gives us a palpable reference for Australian cinema that's not as frangible as a website. And I'm going to put that right on the top shelf of the movie reference library, and I probably will refer to it a lot. Nice little piece of work, that, and congratulations to everybody involved. It was kickstarted, but it then got a release wider. This one was picked up for me in New York by my good friend Morris from Love That Album podcast. It's a bunch of actors talking about their careers. It's got people like Beulah Bondi, Barry Bostwick, Jose Ferrer, Lillian Gish, Sterling Hayden, Danny Kaye, Stacey Keach, Gregory Peck, Jessica Tandy, and Paul Winfield. There's a thing called Actors Talk. And Morris found this for me in a second-hand bookshop. And I've started reading it. I put it down off the shelf and started reading it. And actors talking about their craft and their careers in a very grounded and down-to-earth way, with all of the kind of publicity bullshit aside. Really great book, and it's one I treasure because I like these little books that nobody knows about that actually give you a bit more depth about the process of being an actor and the process of gaining success as an actor. And this one definitely does that. Read some reference books. You're never going to come away more stupid than you were when you first saw it. So that's it for this time around. Thanks for bearing with me and taking a look at the haul. There's so much good stuff here and so much fun putting it all together. And I'm going to have so much fun watching the ones I haven't watched already. So anyway, thank you very much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please like, subscribe, and leave a comment. Tell me which one of these you like, and if you've seen some of these movies in the past and you'd like to revisit them. Anyway, you can also support the channel by donating at patreon.com/paleocinema. Look after yourselves. Watch some good movies, watch some bad movies. Watch some movies that you pick up for $1 in a thrift store. You're not going to lose that much money if it's a piece of crap. And I'll catch you next time.